Now we have another story that has people going crazy.
For what?
I
I don't know.
didn't. I don't know. I don't know either, but people are going crazy over this. Kendrick Lamar has been chosen to perform at halftime of this year's Super Bowl. What's the Roman numeral again? Is it 59?
Yeah,
Is it Super
59.
Bowl 59? Okay, so yeah, Kendrick is going to be performing at the Super Bowl this year, and people are losing their minds over this. Uh, a lot of people believe that Lil Wayne should have been selected, and Jay Z has become the target for a lot of people's dismay over the fact that Kendrick was chosen over Lil Wayne. They are hollering collusion. They are outraged. They think this is a travesty. They think Lil Wayne has been given a grave disservice as a result of Kendrick being chosen to perform at this show. For anyone who does not know, Jay Z, through his Rock Nation imprint, brokered a deal with the NFL a few years ago to be responsible for selecting who performs at the halftime of the Super Bowl. I am not exactly sure how many years this contract goes for. I'm pretty sure you can look up that information for yourself. But that's the reason why Jay Z has been sort of uh, zeroed in by people who are outraged because it should have been Wayne and not Kendrick. So this says Jay Z explains why Kendrick Lamar was chosen to perform at Super Bowl halftime show. Jay Z has explained his reasoning behind selecting Kendrick Lamar as the headlining performer at the Apple Music Super Bowl 2025 halftime show, a decision that was announced on Sunday. The hip hop icon and NFL music strategist released a statement coinciding with news of Lamar being tapped to take the stage during the halftime show, which will take place during Super Bowl 59 in New Orleans, Louisiana in February 2025. Kendrick Lamar is truly a once in a generation artist and performer. His deep love for hip hop and culture informs his artistic vision. He has an unparalleled ability to define and influence culture globally. Kendrick's work transcends music, and his impact will be felt for years to come. News of Kendrick being named the performer for the Apple Music Super Bowl 2025 halftime show received mixed reactions from the public, as some critics felt other artists may have been more deserving of the selection. One name who fans and musical figures felt would be a more appropriate performer for the occasion is Lil Wayne, particularly since Super Bowl 59 will take place in New Orleans, the rap legend's hometown, being that Kendrick previously performed during the star-studded Super Bowl halftime show held by Dr. Dre in 2022, and that Lil Wayne has publicly campaigned for the opportunity, made the decision seemingly that much more polarizing. Fellow Louisiana native Master P shared his thoughts on Jay-Z and the NFL potentially spoiling what could have been a special moment for Southern culture by opting for Kendrick Lamar to perform over Lil Wayne. The mogul echoed many fans' thoughts that Lil Wayne should be included as part of the Super Bowl halftime show in some form or fashion. As ambassador of entertainment in the city of New Orleans, I have to agree with the fans that Lil Wayne should be a part of this celebration as well. He's one of the greatest hip hop artists alive, still relevant, and he's a New Orleans native. Let's not miss this cultural moment in the South. Life is too short. We have to give our legends their flowers while they are still here. Earlier this year, Lil Wayne expressed his desire to perform during the Super Bowl halftime show, admitting that he was praying to be chosen as the headliner. However, he said that he had yet to receive any indication that he was up for consideration. I will not lie to you. I have not got a call or nothing. We praying, we keeping our fingers crossed. I'm working hard. I'm gonna make sure this next album and everything I do is killer. I want to just make it hard for them not to holler at the boy. I could be like Rihanna. Riri came out there and just went from year to year to year to year. All right, so there you have it. We have a bunch of people have basically just said Jay Z tripping. It should have been Lil Wayne. This is a problem. Cameron said something. Master P, we just saw that. Nicki Minaj went off. So a bunch of people are going off talking about how bad this is because it should have been Wayne and not Kendrick. What are your thoughts on the outrage over Kendrick being chosen to perform instead of Wheezy?
I can't believe I'm gonna sit here and defend Jay Z with this, but I mean, this is to me, this is all business. Uh, this is business. the reason why Jay-Z tapped Dr. Dre and Snoop Dogg when they was out there on the West Coast was there was no hits. There was no bangers. There were no anthems out there for them to call in, you know, somebody in particular that would bring in the revenue and be good business. Um, but it just so happened that the Super Bowl, where it's going to be in New Orleans, that Kendrick Lamar just had, you know, the banger of the decade so far. So how do you not bring Kendrick to the Super Bowl as the headliner? Because I think he just did, or not just, but when he did his little concert or whatever, and they were streaming it, that was going crazy. The numbers on that was insane. Everybody was watching it. So it's going to be the same thing for this Super Bowl, where everybody's going to be watching, where the song went global, so everybody knows it. Everybody knows about the beef. So this is black, white, old, young. You know what I'm saying? Everybody knows about this. So why not headline him to keep the ratings and everything boosting and going? Because I'm pretty sure part of his Rock Nation deal with the league is that there's going to be metrics getting reported all the time about this stuff. So he can do the noble thing for the culture and and bring in Lil Wayne, who doesn't have a hit right now. It'll be a nice little nostalgic type of thing, but this is not the year for it. We actually have a banger. So we're gonna bring in Kendrick Lamar. To me, it just makes business sense. So for people to be so up in arms about this time around, this ain't the first time the Super Bowl done passed through New Orleans. So I don't get what the gripe is about now. I guess because Jay-Z, he's supposed to be the representative of the culture, so he's supposed to hold it down. But no, Jay-Z represents business. He represents bottom line, and Kendrick Lamar is bottom line. So I don't see any when I saw the thing that Kendrick was going to be for the Super Bowl thing, I was like, makes sense. Makes sense to me. I was just trying to enjoy football, and they made the announcements. I was like, okay, well, why wouldn't he? And then I'm hearing all this backlash and all this other stuff, and I'm like, come on, man, just look at the business thing of this. So, as the ambassador of entertainment, Master P, I guess do your job and have Wayne be somewhere in there. But I'm pretty sure if Wayne isn't going to be headlining or whatever, he might not even want to be a part of anything. So, he doesn't want to be, I don't know, who knows. But there's a way to get Lil Wayne involved with the weekend. It doesn't have to be the Super Bowl show. And I guess, like as the article mentioned, Wayne's desire to want to do it is what making people really, really go to bat for him. But I'm sorry, Wayne, you can try to make an album now that's a banger, that's gonna, whatever, but it's a little too late. But honestly, man, it might be the most fireest thing Wayne that came out in years. Because he's actually motivated about something. So who knows? Fingers crossed, I guess, for that. But sorry, everybody, I can't rock with this whole throwing Jay-Z under the bus for this. I'll throw him under a bus for a lot of things. But honestly, this is just Jay-Z being Jay-Z. And his thing is being a businessman. And to me, Kendrick makes good business sense. So I would do the same thing. Sorry, everybody. But what are your thoughts, man, on Jay-Z calling on Kendrick and everybody's up in arms about it? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, there's no precedent for the complaints. Like if you look through the history, I just went back to 1997. The Super Bowl was in New Orleans in 1997. The performers at halftime with the Blues Brothers, with ZZ Top. There's no ties to New Orleans there. The Super Bowl was in New Orleans in 2002. The halftime performer was U2. They're not from New Orleans. In 2013, it was at New Orleans, and the performer was Destiny's Child. they're not from New Orleans. And then this year, it's in New Orleans again, and it's Kendrick. There's absolutely no precedent for not for any of the Super Bowls in New Orleans to have a performer that's from the city of New Orleans. Let alone is there also no longer a precedent for there being any prioritization made of putting a performer who's from the whole city to perform at halftime of the Super Bowl. It was a coincidence that they happened to do it with Dr. Dre when it was in LA. But I think that's what has people so up in arms. I guess the hip hop world thought that there was a new precedent being established
Right.
after Dr. Dre did it, that it
Right.
was going to be somebody from the whole city, and so that was
Right.
the expectation. But I
Hmm.
don't know who sent that memo. I never saw it, so I don't know why people are so up in arms about it. Like to me, there's no precedent for it. So if you had the expectation that that was going to continue, then Boo Boo the Fool, you look kind of like you had unrealistic expectations because no one confirmed that. So all of the rest of these rappers and these has-been hip hop people running around, these Nicki Minaj people, Cameron. And I got respect for Cameron, the content creator, but I feel like these individuals are just piling on
Hmm.
to go along with a wave that is popular right now, which is let's talk about how Lil Wayne got done dirty. It's the popular thing to do at this moment in time,
Hmm.
given this particular announcement. And there's no precedent for it. So I really don't see where the complaints are coming from. I really don't think they have a ground to stand on. Furthermore, like you, I agree. Lil Wayne is, for lack of a better word, given his longevity and where he was at his peak, I guess one can consider him to be a legend.
Yeah.
So if he were to be chosen, he'd be doing catalogs of what he's been doing, of what he's done in years past. Because Lil Wayne now, I'm not, and I'm not. This is not to disrespect him. I just don't know who's checking for him now. And I'm not trying to be disparaging towards Wayne. He's just entered into that phase in his career where he's kind of like an elder statesman. He's not really actively making music like that. And this is a gripe that I have with rappers who get older. They become less active and then they complain about not getting the respect that they deserve. Well, you kind of have to stay relevant and continue to be active. That's why Nas continues to get so much respect by audiences young and old. It doesn't really matter what age it is, because in the last 3 or 4 years, Nas has put out 6 albums. Like the guy's almost 50 years old, but he's active as hell. Ever since he linked up with Hit Boy, he's put out 6 albums between King's Disease and Magic over the last couple years, a few years. So you got to be able to keep. I understand or not. I understand Wayne has an impressive, classic, long catalog historically. But when you're talking about corporate events like the Super Bowl, there's an aspect of current relevance that kicks in, which can inform one on why a decision such as this has been made.
Mm.
And whether you like it or not, in terms of current relevance, Kendrick is beating Lil Wayne currently. I mean, between the Drake thing and and I guess the Half Stepper album that came out back in 2022. So I
Mm.
guess from a solo album standpoint, Kendrick has been a bit quiet the last couple of years, but he exploded with this beef stuff.
Yeah,
And
man.
so musically, he's just more on the radar than Lil Wayne is, for better or for worse. I'm not trying to say it's right or wrong. It just is what it is. Furthermore, and I'll say this real quick, this made complete sense to me in terms of this selection. The NFL is corporate America. The NFL is one of these corporations that tries to make sure that it's perceived to be on the right side of history. I've mentioned that before. This might be a bit out there for some people, but I'm still going to say it anyway. It's a theory of mine. But you know, the NFL, they're lock and step with social justice advocacy, and they're all over the place with ending racism and trying to, you know, stem the tide of inequality. They want to make the world a better place, right? So they want to be perceived as being on the right side of history. They love everybody. They don't like inequality. They don't like hate. They want to get rid of all of that kind of stuff. They're still doing stop hate in the end zone, end racism in the end zone at stadiums. They're still doing these things. some of these organizations, they still have these little monikers on the helmets: in racism, stop hate, all this good stuff. The NFL is firmly entrenched in the idea that they have a responsibility to at least be perceived to be on the right side of history. And I think that they are going to select performances, especially with somebody like Jay-Z involved, to reinforce this notion. And I think in that way, Kendrick does that more than Wayne. Wayne has never really put himself out there as a social justice as a social justice advocate, or somebody who's an orator who speaks on behalf of the downtrodden. Wayne hasn't really done that too much. Wayne is more of a run of the mill, money, cars, clothes, women. This is what he raps about. This is kind of what Wayne is. That's his track record as an artist. And Kendrick's track record as an artist is someone who is on a higher vibrational plane, and he actually lends his voice to societal issues, which is right up the current NFL's alley. Even if it's forced and not real, it nevertheless is right up the NFL's alley. And so I think that this is a perfect marriage in terms of ideology and the kind of artist who can align with that kind of ideology. And I think that that made the decision to pick Kendrick all the more easy. And Jay-Z is one of these people who himself, in his, in the latter stages of his mogul status, not Jay-Z the rapper, but certainly Jay-Z the entrepreneur, and Jay-Z the business person, and Jay-Z the person who made his last 2 albums. He's all over the place talking about this stuff: inequality, racism, injustices, and all of this kind of stuff. So this to me makes sense from that standpoint. I don't really get the outcry over Wayne not being selected. There really is no precedent for that. Just because he's from New Orleans, that don't make no sense. If you go and do your easy research, you will see that there is no precedent for anybody performing at this show being from the whole city, let alone New Orleans. So I think all of those people talking about this, complaining about it, hollering over it, can go cry me a river.
Yeah, man. And I think it's also just because I agree with that angle too, in the sense that the NFL, post George Floyd, they definitely leaned into that stuff. Not so much after Kaepernick, but it was after 2020. It was the 2020 stuff that really got them doing that stuff. So this is, this is multiple birds with stones. He fits the bill, as you mentioned, as far as the image. And like I said, he had the hit. And, they're going to play Not Like Us out there, and everybody knows that song. So it just made sense. It just so happened to fall in the wrong year, I guess. Because if this is next year where there's nothing going on and blah, 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 then it was in New Orleans. It was like, damn, who the hell can we get? Hey, let's get Lil Wayne. Duh, that makes sense. A lot of people want to watch that. And yeah. So even if they did it, with Wayne this year, a lot of people are going to watch it, but it'll be for a particular audience. And there are people in other communities that love Lil Wayne, absolutely. But this, again, Kendrick's song transcended stuff, and everybody knows it. So it'll be a thing where when he's up there, it's going to keep retention. People aren't just going to walk off during the halftime show. And like I mentioned, man, he's got there's numbers being reported with these things to just track his performance to see if this guy's actually worth more money, or whatever. And then if Jay-Z can point to these numbers, like, look at these numbers that I'm doing for these halftime shows. So book me again. And this time I want this much. So it's business, man. He ain't got no time to be out here, appeasing people. When did Jay-Z ever do that? Jay-Z was all about his cash always. And this is just right in line with that. So, yeah, I think that this fits Jay-Z. This fits the NFL. This is just a perfect thing. This could have been in Indianapolis this year. It would have been Kendrick Lamar. If it was in New York this year, it was going to be Kendrick Lamar because of what he did. So, people just need to get over it, man. And yeah, they need to get over it and understand you're dealing with a corporate entity where the bottom line is always the bottom line. And to hell with your feelings. You think they care about people's feelings? They care about money. So yeah, man. So these people they can continue to cry a river, man. But it's gonna fall on deaf ears. You're crying to a corporate entity,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
they're gonna be laughing at you once those millions of viewers were watching this year's halftime more than the last 5 years. Because that's what they're gonna do. They're gonna say this year's halftime it's the highest rated since Janet Jackson nip slip.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like, well, why not? And then Jay-Z and them gonna pop champagne, and the NFL, yeah, they're gonna be chumming it up. Hey, we was in everybody's house again. So yeah, I'm sorry, people, man. And I see what you're doing, JV Wins, bro. You be picking these topics where I'm gonna be agreeing. I'm gonna be agreeing with this person. Man, I'm on to you, man. It's like the third time you've done this, man.
Hey, man, you can go whichever way you want, man. I
Nah,
ain't trying to, it is what it is, man. It is what it is, bro.
I hear you, bro.
But hey, listen, it is, yeah, this stuff is about money, man. Like these, I, I've gotten these rappers and these hip hop people are just they annoy me sometimes. They complain about the dumbest stuff. Do your research. Look up a basic Google search. Like, don't just shoot off at the hip and get on your Twitter and start complaining about something that you don't have no idea what you're talking about. Nicki Minaj, and I get it. She's sitting there defending her guy. Wayne is her guy, but
Yeah.
where is the precedent for this historically? There isn't any. So I don't know what y'all thought was going to happen. And this is a corporate dog and pony show.
Yep.
And you're right, it is going to smash ratings. It is going to smash ratings because when it does, everybody who's doing the complaining is going to look like idiots for having complained in the first place about something that doesn't really measure up. And I would imagine that Kendrick might just bring Wayne out there as a guest or something. I mean, that's happened before, so we'll see. But I think this is people personally, and this is because as an artist, Jay-Z is my all-time favorite. He remains that, but I do feel differently about what he's been doing basically since 2003. As the business entity that he is, and some of the stuff that he's been standing for, and the contradictions between what he's a spokesperson on behalf of and what his music was for the first decade of his career. And I have to reconcile that, because despite me saying that, I still say that he's my all-time favorite musically. But I think that people take chances to get their frustrations out over him with things like this. Like, these individuals probably don't like Jay-Z for other reasons, but they're using this as their opportunity to lash out against him because it's low-hanging fruit. But they probably got other reasons to have issues, and they got problems with Jay-Z stemming from other stuff. So, and I'm not saying that Jay-Z's in the right or wrong for that. I'm just saying things tend to happen like that these days, where it's like, we don't like this person. So when little things like this happens, it becomes a triggering event, which gives us the opportunity to go at them. And we're using this as the stage to bitch at them, but really we're complaining about other things. And I think that this might be an example of that, especially with people like Cameron, who have a well-documented past of having issues with Jay-Z over things that happened years and years ago. So it is what it is, but I think that this made sense personally.
Yep, I agree, man. Wow.